What we're thinking about is the things of God. We're thinking about how would God see this. It doesn't mean we're religious. It doesn't mean we're looking for things that are right or wrong. It means we start thinking about things that are righteous. Because things that are righteous are right. And there's a thirst for it. You want to know more. And you start reading books you never thought you'd read. And you start spending time with your Bible. And God starts talking to you through the Word. Because all of a sudden you got to have more of it. Because you can't get enough of it. Your appetite is out of control for the things that are good. And the things that are decent. There's a passion involved with people that have a life that's been touched by God. Listen, we just came out of the election this last week. And there are a bunch of very passionate people running around all over the country. Am I right? They're out on the street corner waving signs, and they're out people yelling at people and fighting with people, and families are divided, and churches are divided, all because of an election. You've got to be kidding me. People are so passionate. You ever met somebody that's so passionate about something that they can't see the forest for the trees? They spend time every day looking at their 401, or they're so passionate about their diet or their exercise program or their children or their career or whatever their favorite hobby or sport is, and they can't talk about anything other than that. That's passion. Passion is when the things that you enjoy just overflow out of who you are. The life of Thanksliving is a passionate life, and it's committed. It's not committed for today, and it's not committed till Tuesday when something bad happens. It's committed for the long haul, because it's going to be hard. Remember the polka dots? The trials of many kinds and shapes and sizes and colors? They're coming to get you. And a person who's been touched by God realizes that, but hangs in there for the long haul. The other thing I would tell you is that you and I, it says in that text, you can show God's goodness to people around you. No, I can't. Because I know my badness. You got to be kidding me. God who's good can somehow be shown through me, who's bad? Have you ever met anybody that just seems to talk, and you just you hear him from God when they talk? Or when somebody walks up to you and says, I'm praying for you, you know God's listening? One of those kind of people. There are lots of ways that you and I can show goodness to people, and some of them are very obvious. The so-and-so family, their house just burned down. Some friends of mine in Lake Wales, their house burned down. They lost everything. And their church came around them and gave them thousands of dollars in clothing and stuff for a new place. I mean, that's an obvious way to show the goodness of God. True? Okay? So I could show by giving my money. I could show by giving goods or services. I could give it to churches or other groups or hurricane relief, whatever. There are obvious ways to show God's goodness. And those things are important. But there are also subtle ways we can show God's goodness too. And I think these are just as important. And I'll give you a couple of them. One of them is, I really think it's important to treat your waiter or waitress with respect. And to be nice to them. And I'll tell you why. Because they carry the food from the kitchen to your table. And no one is watching. It is one of the most foolish things in the world to be rude to your waiter or waitress before you get your food. And that's not smart. Okay? Now, here's how you learn how to do this. And I was at lunch recently with Tony and Anna and their family, and this young man came to our table. And this is what you say. And you say it early in the conversation, because if you say it early in the conversation, it'll make you behave. You say, hey, call my name. I don't remember the guy's name. It's Jeremy. What was it? Rory. You're right, it was Rory. You remember his name. Get his number too? I said, hey Rory, where are you from? He told me where he's from. I said, cool. I said, are you a student at UCF? Yes, I am. I said, how long have you been in Orlando? He tells me the little story about how long you've been working here. He told me the story. I said, listen, do you go to church anywhere? No, I don't. I said, listen, we all go to Friends Community Church. We'd love to have you stop by sometime. That's it. That's all you have to do. Now, you've already thrown the name of your church in it, so you've got to be nice. Now, if you plan on being a jerk, throw the name of First Church or whatever in there. Don't throw our name in there. All right? What I'm saying is it's a simple invitation. And this is a person, so you don't need to feel threatened, you might not ever see again, but you've extended to them grace. Hey, is there something I can pray for you about today? You know, we're all going to pray before we eat. You got something you want to pray about? That's all you got to do. And they'll say, no, I'm good. You sure? Okay. And while they stand there, you pray. And God, I pray you bless Rory today. What? That's it. He's going to bring you extra drinks. And they're free. Listen, I'm serious. You can bless somebody in a subtle way just by being nice. Just by being nice. The holiday season's coming up. Anybody here a school teacher? You got the most thankless job in the world. Mom and Dad? No, homeschool don't count. You have to be nice to your mama. Send your teacher a card. A card. Not an email. A card. And write in it, I appreciate what you're doing for my son or daughter. Thank you for your investment in my child. By the way, December 21st, we're having a coffee house at my church. It's free. December 24th is Christmas Eve service. Love to have you stop by. Subtle. I'll give you another one. If this doesn't apply to you, I understand. But if you get to church early on Sunday mornings, okay, and it's getting to the point where we have to fight for a seat, and that's kind of cool, because some of you, I really want to see you go at it. I got my money on certain of you. All right. But if you get here early, don't park right here. Park back there, so our guests can park close to the doors. Now, if you got a problem getting to the door, I understand that. You know, some of us do. But that's a subtle way to show goodness to people. A couple of weeks ago, I was going through some old stuff, and I came across a letter that my father wrote to me. And my dad doesn't write very often, and this was a handwritten letter. And as I was reading it, I kept the letter for a reason. It was when I graduated from college, and I was the first person in my family to graduate from college. And reading this letter, and what I found myself doing was taking my fingers and running it over the pages, because it was the bumps in the paper that mattered to me. Because my dad took the time to write a letter. Those kinds of things matter. There's subtle ways you can show people the goodness of God. Peter uses the phrase, he says, at one point you had no identity. If you and I didn't have an identity, we would be orphans. Because that's what an orphan is. An orphan is a person who exists, but they don't have any place to belong. They're kind of on their own. They're kind of just out there floating around, and they're looking for a place to connect. And they don't have an identity. The second thing he said was you didn't have any mercy. If you and I didn't have mercy today, we'd be lost. Lost doesn't mean you're not worth anything, by the way. Lost just means you're not where you belong. If you lose $100, it's still worth $100, true? You just can't find it. So it's lost. And so if you and I didn't have mercy, we would be lost. We wouldn't be where we belong. But when you put the two together and you get identity and mercy, what you get is adopted. And that's what we said last week. That God had chosen us in Him to be adopted as the sons and daughters of God. And so somebody showed us mercy and brought us into a family, and now we got a name and we got an identity. That's why it matters. That's why he even uses these words. He's trying to say, you're off on your own. You got no place to connect. But you came to know mercy. Remember, the Jewish people lived under the law. They were trying to earn God's favor. And these people, these Christian Jews, had come to the place where they realized it was Christ who allowed them to have a right relationship with God. So Peter's trying to wrap it all up. And this is the connection process. Get an identity, mercy, now you belong to something. What is the motto at Friends Community Church? Connecting people to people and people to God. We want you to have an identity. Connect to people. Connect to each other so you can find mercy, so you can be connected to God. That's the whole thing. You and I want ways for people to connect to each other so we can have an identity, so we belong to something. How many of you have ever taught Sunday school, vacation Bible school, or something in the church that has to do with children? Okay? I can tell you the number one reason why you don't. Now. Because you can't get them to behave. They won't sit down. Sorry, kids. God bless them. I'll pray for them. All right? This is the formula. If you want to be a good teacher,